I'm honored to be here. As an American, I'm proud to be here. And as a human being, I want to show my appreciation. My appreciation to the courage that a black man showed when he saw injustice and struggled to correct it. As an American, he saw a country torn apart because of prejudice, and he moved to mend it. I want to show my appreciation to that human being who showed courage when he struggled to take me to the mountaintop, when he had the courage to show me the vision of a society that had overcome prejudice, a society that had overcome discrimination, and a society that treated everyone with dignity and fairness. Dr. Martin Luther King, happy birthday, and I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Clay Dix, Arizona State University.
I'm aware of the lateness of the hour, but I stand here tonight as a beneficiary. Most of you are familiar with insurance policies. Dr. King's life and death certainly made me a beneficiary in that all of the things that I have been able to accomplish since that time can be attributed directly to his efforts. So as a beneficiary, this park should not be able to hold all of the people who have benefited directly or indirectly because of his efforts. Dr. King was a very young man when he died, only 39 years old, and often teased my family about pushing my age back. But as I approach that year, I'm able to realize the full impact of how much he accomplished in 39 short years. A lot of folks have been around here a lot longer and have not really accomplished very much at all. This is the challenge to us today. As a beneficiary, I'd like to sum up just a few views that I have reflected on all morning and yet this afternoon, and then I'm sure we'll be on our way. Internationally, in the world situation, what Dr. King realized in just a few words was that people everywhere want to be free. Dr. King knew this. He had grasped this understanding that people everywhere, all over the globe, want to be free. And he knew that the greatest threat to our survival as a people dealt with people's needs to oppress, to conquer, to rule over, and to deny other people that freedom. He knew that as a visionary, he knew that it was no longer going to be the superpowers, Russia and the United States, dealing with the destruction of the world, but that by this time, today, 31 nations would have the capacity to start the nuclear war that will wipe out civilization as we know it. Dr. King knew this, so he was against war at that time. He was aware that one mistake by any leader of one of those 31 nations could trigger a series of events that would wipe out civilization. He knew that every nation now knew the secret to waging war. It's a very simple formula. All you have to do is declare your position as right. We are right in this issue. Secondly, you need only to invoke God's blessing and make it God's ordaining of your war. And thirdly, go to war. This motto is being followed by small nation after small nation as we stand here tonight. It's a very simple formula. It worked when only the superpowers could carry out the destruction of the world. Dr. King confronted the need for power and recognition and the need to be number one. This idea of being first, if you can remember some of his earlier speeches, he talked about being first and being number one as a very human and normal kind of gesture. But what he warned us was that the perversion of this, the taking it too far, this press to be first, could lead to the destruction of our civilization. What Dr. King knew was that, which our present leaders do not seem to be able to grasp, is that the power and being first in the world is not in nuclear warheads, but in the heads of people. Dr. King knew this, and that in those heads, people would be striving to be first in love, first in generosity, and first in moral excellence. Dr. King laid out this pattern for us, and in doing so, he reordered and redefined what being first is all about. So as this nation struggles in Congress and its budgets and its nuclear armaments, it is struggling to be first through an approach that Dr. King and others have known for many, many years, that is not the way to be first. He says, if you want to be first, if you want to be great, then he who is greatest among you shall be your servant. So that serving becomes the method through which a person achieves greatness. A gentleman visiting the United States about 2 weeks ago came to Arizona State University, and he was concerned during his tour. He had visited several cities throughout the country. His concern was, what is the current condition of Black Americans, Native Americans, Hispanics, but primarily, what is the condition of Black America? And I was called in to sit in on a discussion with him, international visitor, and his questioning was related to America's true greatness will come when Black people and brown people and red people are allowed to participate freely in the society. So he came to check up on us, see if we were really a threat, see if we could really claim ourselves the #1 nation in America. Finally, Dr. King had national impact in that he was the emancipator. He freed America up from the need to maintain a dual system. Some have called it separate but equal, but it clearly was not equal. But it was a dual system. Dr. King accomplished voting rights and open housing and employment opportunities and affirmative action and many political gains. But his greatest single accomplishment in America has to be the fact that he raised the moral consciousness of this nation. He called God's people to question oppression, racism, sexism. Dr. King shifted the focus from why we must help the less fortunate. Dr. King said we must focus not on what will happen to us if we help, such as the high cost of housing or health services, but he focused the emphasis on what will happen to the less fortunate if we don't help. This diametrically is opposite to what this current administration is all about. It has us believing that we must be concerned about cost of providing these services to the less fortunate. This administration clearly is committed to a survival of the fittest mentality, which has as a premise that to help the poor and the less fortunate somehow weakens the fiber of the nation. That a nation becomes strong in adversity, the kinds of things that we're going through now, raging unemployment and idleness and alcohol and so forth, somehow makes us strong. Dr. King was opposed to this because he saw this as clearly blaming the victim, placing further weight upon those who could least carry such a heavy load. Finally, for those of us who are Black tonight, Dr. King, the prophet, gave us a warning, and at the time, those of us who were around had to be puzzled how Dr. King, on the morning of liberation, on the morning of freedom, would caution us about we have some difficult days ahead. To those who were around at that time, the question had to be, how could the days ahead be more difficult? We now have the vote. We now have affirmative action. We now have open housing. We now have the Civil Rights Act. But as a prophet, I'm sure Dr. King knew that there would be a price to pay for this freedom. Dr. King saw as a prophet and a visionary the breakup of the Black family, I'm sure he saw the loss of our heritage and history, which would no longer be taught to our young people. I'm sure he knew that America would go into a third revolution in its lifetime, one that would shift from agrarian society where slaves and strongbacks were important into a second revolution, which was the Industrial Revolution, which needed labor to work in industry, in steel mills and auto industry. But Dr. King saw this third revolution that we're witnessing today, the shift toward technology and communication. He must have known that in that shift, no longer would an individual without technical skills and college degrees and ability to perform in the business world be allowed to pursue the American dream. Dr. King must have seen that the inner city would be abandoned by those of us who had been the beneficiaries of his efforts, that we would leave behind our brothers and sisters who were no longer able to compete due to lack of education or opportunity. It's ironic today that as we stand in the midst of a paradox, while at the same time we can have a black astronaut, a black Miss America, black elected officials in major cities, councilmen, and even a black presidential candidate, that we stand with unemployment numbers that are too atrocious to even begin to deal with, that our health problems mirror those of the pre-60s civil rights period. But one thing in closing that I'm glad Dr. King didn't do was leave us right there. I'm glad that in talking about those difficult days, he shared with us the final event of his life, and that was that God would allow him to go to the mountaintop, and that in going to that mountaintop, God allowed him to look over into the promised land. And Dr. King's, one of his final words to us was, "We as a people will get to that promised land." accept the candlelight responsibility for my generation and I pass it on to the next.
I accept the responsibility of the candle of the light for those in my generation and my generation after.
I accept the responsibility of the candle of life for my generation and the generation after.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been to the mountaintop, but you know, that's not where it is. The action is down in the valley where the people of God are crying, where the people of God are suffering. Go into the world and in peace, love and serve the brothers and the sisters, and the peace of God will go with you to keep you until we meet again. Let us all say, amen.
for you. I give it to you. And when this is what I said, well, Calvin, I just when they were talking, I said, well, that's me. This is really cool. Where did he go? Your palace in Israel. In Israel. I see in Jerusalem. Yes, I've been in Jerusalem. And that's a very interesting. A friend of mine
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Reverend Dick, I ain't gonna turn around.
Connie, Connie.
You can't flip me over, you know. Say bye. Oh, it's this way. Baby, what should I do about that?
What's up? Connie.
$3. That's the only grandkid.
Okay, bye-bye.
Fabricated story.
Man, I tell you.
How you doing?
All right, how you doing?
Great.
Great. full silk, one size fit-all fit jacket that also comes in an extra large for the more mature figure. It is lace trimmed to match the lace on the cap
Let me get out of here, cuz.
and the chip. It has a medium length sleeve that is also been trimmed, and it comes with a spaghetti tie. The Jessup can also be used as a short robe for dressing on a pair of doll outfit. It comes into small, average, and extra large. The color comes in plum, blue, and pink. That garment sells for $19. Thank you, Sandy. Would y'all kind of, gentlemen, would y'all kind of keep that walkway there, kind of, just so they can get back and forth? I appreciate it. Okay, the next garment we're going to have. The garment is put out by Carol. Carol is wearing what we call the cheetah. The cheetah is a strapless gown, 100% polyester. The chain gives her that wild animal look of the Tarzan in her life. It comes in a journal cut with 54-inch length, enchanted by a small slit up the side. It comes in a small, medium, and large, and the cheetah sells for $20.50. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah, thank you, baby. Really my pleasure.
The next garment you see
Bring some snow on, child. I know we got some up in here.
is worn by Tom. Now this garment can be worn as a unisex by male or female. You can also wear this in pajamas where you got your big underneath. You can see here. Don't nobody want to see what he got, that little stub. Thank you, Tom. Okay, the next garment we'll have, you'll see. the attention of the personnel standing here, would you all kindly move it out so they can also come through? The next garment you see is called the candlelight. The candlelight is worn by Sandy. The candlelight is a lady in a two-piece robe and gown set, an ivory tricolor, sheer robe and elegant lace. The lace also comes with the York, rising to the form of a queen and collar. The robe is closed with pearl buttons and satin bows. This robe could work over beige chemise, a beige French teddy, or a very sexy look. It comes in the colors of ivory, sizes small, medium, and large, and the garment sells for $42. Thank you, Sandy. Could you all please keep the aisle clear there so the ladies can get back? Can we keep that walkway clear, please? The next garment you see out there was worn by Carol. Would you all let them through, please? It's Carol. Carol is called the cotton candy. The cotton candy is sure and elegant. Try to its neck. Soft, fly 4-inch lace on the sleeve. Made to put the fullest fit. Cotton candy would like to take a bite. It comes in the pink color pink and a size of medium. Thank you, Carol. The next garment you see is being modeled by Tom. shit. That shit you was smoking. I know you're gonna be hungry. Okay, now, we got one more round to go. That'll be the conclusion of that'll be served as soon as the show, he was interested to see Pete, one of the guys back there, and they'll definitely hurry up. This last garment is going to be worn by Sandy. Sandy is wearing what was a Clio. The Clio is the true figure answer to the excuse me, I'll make it move on that one. The Camille is ended up. It's both red and black. The garment comes in two colors, and it can be worn in two distinct different ways. When you tie the hash across the body, it gives you a full look to a small body and a small support for your full waist. The Camille can be tied in the front, on the back, low, or in a roll. The four legs give this jumpsuit a shirt look for the female look. The long waist, skirt, can be draped over the shoulder in a price cut fashion and ties in the front, give a shapely, gaudy sleeve in the shoulders. That garment is worn by Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your patience and courteous kindness. Any of y'all interested, y'all can go back to Boogie because I'm going to turn it back over to Mike. Thank you all very much for the time, your patience, and your true understanding. Thank you very much. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, Gray Fox. Let's give him a hand. Gray Fox, Studio Salon, and all the models. And let's jam.